Great. Good evening. Today is November 10th for our Shade Tree Commission. So the first order of business is to establish a quorum, and we're all here, so we are now quorumed. Approval of October 2022 minutes. Was there any discussion or input into those?
Did you get my corrections that I
I got
gave you?
them, and they were incorporated.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to accept?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Negative, don't want to approve, say nay. Just think, all those poor horses. Okay, Title 33, tree permit, right-of-way issues, and public land. So we're going to talk about new commissioner appointments update from our liaison.
Hello. Yeah, so I had a meeting with Mayor Patterson to talk about this issue because I felt like it was appropriate to come to him because he's the person who appoints people. And his issue with allowing people from outside the city is that because Shade Tree does have a certain amount of teeth, not necessarily the same, but similar to the Board of Zoning Appeals, how we can affect construction and projects in the city here proper, he didn't feel like it was appropriate to have people from outside the city limits making those decisions for people inside the city limits. And I have to agree with him.
Right.
Did he know that the person that we're talking about has extremely high qualifications?
Yes,
And would
but
be an asset to this community?
Yes, but I think the issue with making an exception based on one person is that down the road, we don't necessarily know that other people who would be appointed from outside the commission would have those same level of qualifications. It's not just about what works for us right now. We have to be aware of what we're affecting for future shade tree commissions.
So I have a question. Are we allowed to have somebody who serves as an advisor? They're not a board
member?
commissioner, but they attend the meetings and they work with us?
It's called a consultant.
Yeah, well, I mean, my next thought that I was going to ask was, what if we potentially approach them with the idea of it being only alternates? So they're non-voting members.
Right.
So an alternate would have that ability. So I wanted to run that by people and see if that seemed like an acceptable
Or you
solution.
can have something that Paul Logan and I talked about last year was creating a subcommittee of this with 3 core people who would take care of the permitting so that it would be easier. It was, easier with what was going on. And so in that instance, they would just not be allowed to be on that, subcommittee or something too. I think there's a lot of ways that we can work around this.
Well, Ann's was, a way of doing it might work too, like you were saying. Someone who acts as an advisory capacity.
Yeah.
So maybe we could take a vote, a couple votes. If we're in favor of going back to the mayor and asking whether or not the person could be an alternate, because I think that that's probably the best.
But the problem is
And-
an alternate replaces any commissioner who leaves. So they're next in line to being on the commission.
Oh, that's true.
Is that a definition?
I think so, but I can't say for sure.
Like the Board of Zoning Appeals, if you're an alternate, if somebody's not there to listen, you jump in. So that's one, so that you know everything and that you can then vote.
But I thought alternates don't vote.
In zoning, the board, from what I understand, the alternates can, because they're like, if somebody can't make it to the meeting sort of thing, that's what I.
In order to have a quorum and vote, they step
Yes.
up and get deputized.
Exactly, thank you.
But then we could just say that an alternate outside of city limits can't be deputized.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
can
know if
call
there's a
them-
rule.
We can
But-
also call them as something else than an alternate.
It's not really an alternate
Okay.
anymore at that point.
I think, we can do advisorial.
Yeah.
And that would be okay, because then we can have alternates too, that would be in city. The Sustainability Commission has a couple people out, but they have no permitting regulations.
Oh, what are
so-
they called?
Oh, they're just commission members, because Sustainability Commission doesn't vote on anything, no permitting or any of that sort of stuff.
So
So
do-
there was no problem with having having people out of the city.
Do we need to vote so we can give Ben marching orders?
how do you want to march with this, Ben?
I love marching orders.
Okay.
I was in marching band, so I can march backwards if you need. While playing an instrument, yeah, good roll step. Yeah, I mean, it's if that's what you guys would want, is to go back from there with the possibility of trying to have a non-voting position
Yes.
that could be someone from outside the city limits.
Yes.
I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
And however they want to term
Yeah.
it, you know, advisorial or
Yeah.
consultant, or consultant sounds like we pay them, which we won't.
We can pay people?
But I mean.
Only in big cities.
Anne is an advisor, and so Anne from ODNR
Yeah.
is an advisor, and
And
she
she's
comes to
at the
the
town.
meeting and she participates in the meeting, but she's not a commissioner.
Right. So
Would-
maybe that's how we could go.
How would that sound? Would that be of interest? Just curious? Okay.
So for the advisor, would it not be a formal action? It's like, hey, come be our advisor? Or-
Yeah, I think that we can put it, since we're still writing the ordinance, we could put it in as an actual role, and that it would be official, that they would get some appointment. Because otherwise, somebody will come and become an advisor, but then kind of flake off, because if they haven't been
Yeah,
appointed.
there's
I
no
mean, most
official-
people, oh my God, you know, people aren't going to be in the future when
Yeah.
we're not here.
I think it's a great idea, yeah.
So,
I will,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
If you all vote on that and you're happy with it, that's what I'm gonna do.
Let's
Good compromise.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
vote. Can we
Okay.
say
Look
what
at this.
can you?
I put it forward.
Say the vote. What's
Does
the vote?
anybody want to second?
Please, could you say what give me the language.
Oh,
that
give
we're-
me the-
Oh. We are asking Ben to go forward to the mayor to have a non-voting participant as an alternate or advisor.
I would strike
Do you want,
alternate.
yeah, just say
Yeah, I would
advisor.
strike alternate. Because I think alternate has certain legal
Oh, okay.
definitions and stuff.
As,
Go for it.
as an advisor then.
So what we're asking for is to have a non-voting participant who's going to act as an advisor to the commission.
Yeah. And that advisor
And-
can be appointed,
And, yeah, and that person could be outside of city limits.
yes.
Okay, who would be appointed by,
The mayor and voted on by the city council and asked, I mean, we wouldn't vote on them, but
Yeah.
we welcome them,
and
love
can
them.
Do we want to
live
say anything
outside the
about
city.
why we would ask this person to be advisor?
Oh, like a qualification, yeah,
So they have to have some qualifications that are valuable to the Shade Tree
Yeah.
Commission?
There you go.
right, that's perfect, yeah.
I like leaving that slightly vague because there's lots and lots of different types of qualifications as opposed to saying must be an arborist or
Yeah.
must have taken bio 1202 once or something.
And passed,
Yeah. I dropped out, is that okay?
yeah, I audited.
okay, to have a non-voting
Okay, good, that's
participant.
good.
To have a non-voting participant as an advisor, that person will be appointed by the mayor and can live outside the city limits. And they're appointed on the basis of possessing qualifications, appointed by the mayor, valuable to the Shade Tree Commission.
Yes.
Great.
So
Love
we
that.
have a motion and a second on this. Would we like to have an aye for what
Aye.
has been
Aye.
stated? Aye.
Who made the motion?
Mark seconded the motion. Chris
Seconded
Chris
by-
seconded.
Me? So, okay, so, and it's been all yay?
All
Any
yay.
nays? All yays.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Excellent.
Any other questions about Title 33 tree permit right-of-way issues or public land?
Is the 240 Columbus Road?
240.
It wasn't put on, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Andrew Chicky asked
Yes.
us to talk about it.
Okay.
So I have emailed all of you information, but I will explain it. So
You get that?
a business owner came forward, John Miller, and wanted to talk about the trees that are surrounding, I guess they're millstones, as you get off the 33 and you head south on Columbus Road.
They're city gateways.
Yeah, or city gateways, okay, that's what they're
Yeah.
called. Okay, it's on the right-hand side. It has Welcome to Athens sign, and it has these trees. So there, if you look at the dark, those are the stones that say Welcome to Athens and all that stuff. And then you have several trees, And you have Columbus Road down on the lower left-hand side, and then you have some power lines, and then you see something called building. What he is saying is that when people go down the road, they can't see his building, and they very often will drive past it. So they were wondering if we could remove some trees so the building would be more visible, or if we could remove some trees so they could put some signage. And what I told him is that the Shade Tree Commission is trying to maintain trees, but
He's asking the wrong.
but I do have to say this, whoever did the planting, there is a problem. It's congested. It is absolutely congested. There is a dying spruce tree, which should be removed. I think everybody knows that spruce trees right now are really having a lot of problems.
Is that spruce 3 or 2?
So dying spruce is just the dying one.
They're all dying.
No?
Oh, dying spruce.
Yeah. So,
dying one.
he's dying, so we didn't get a number. And so I think that we should remove that. Also, we have a couple other problems. Spruce tree 2 has a crab tree growing into it. And the crab tree, although it's pretty healthy, is only healthy on one side, right? It's a one-sided tree. And it isn't ideal for spruce tree number 2 because it's congested, plus it has honeysuckle growing as a tree through it right now, which needs to be removed. And then spruce tree 1 has honeysuckle growing underneath it such that the lower boughs are no longer viable. So my suggestion, as you'll read in the email, is that we remove the dying spruce tree. We probably remove crabtree number 2, and we leave everything else alone.
Take out the honeysuckle.
Yes, and take out the honeysuckle. Yeah, definitely the maintenance.
That sounds good.
And by taking out the dying spruce tree, you will get a little bit more of sight to the building.
Right.
Yeah, if you look
From
at
the road.
even just looking at it on Google Maps with the street view, you can see it. It is a very congested.
Why couldn't he put a sign up?
The removal of that tree would definitely.
He wanted to
make
put a sign over
there.
here, but if he puts it over here, you'll never see it from the road because it's being blocked. Those spruce trees are big.
What's the business? What's the building?
It's a small building, it's for an insurance company,
Oh, yeah.
but I think that, when you talk to people like a certain aesthetic. They like small, or medium-sized trees, that are, it just looks like a garden, whereas this was planted as large spruce trees, and it's becoming more of a forest. And
And some people
it's
like
not
that.
the aesthetic for some people, but
So
they're
there's no way that
healthy.
he can get a, I mean, maybe we could give him an okay to put a sign somewhere in here that,
Well, he can put it across the street,
yeah.
and we talked about that. And he doesn't feel strongly about it. I think he was trying to be a good citizen going, you have a dying tree, you have some other problems, I'm willing to pay to get this cleaned up. Can I just remove everything and start again? And I'm not recommending that, But I do agree it has to be cleaned up. So, if
Okay.
everybody would look at what I sent and then send your comments directly to Andrew Chicky.
Okay.
And that way, they'll just have the recommendations and they can decide what to do.
Do
All
we
right.
want to put anything in the minutes, our recommendation?
I think the only thing we can say is that I've made a recommendation, but,
From Rox.
yeah, but that everybody else has to provide their recommendations directly to Andrew. And it's not going to David because he's out of town.
And this can't wait till next meeting?
No.
Why?
Because, I guess it could.
You just want these responsive. We want to be
Yeah,
responsive.
Andrew was trying to be responsive to the property owner, so.
So,
If we wait until next meeting, then it becomes 2 months until the person hears back from us. I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, He apparently
Remember,
didn't
we
get it
don't vote on these things. It is not a vote. We just make recommendations, and it
But
can
we're
be
not
a
supposed
single
to make
voice, or
recommendations via email.
you can make recommendations directly to the city. We
To the-
cannot discuss it.
Right,
but-
you cannot just like send it to me and say, hey, what's going on? What do you think of this? And then, and send one also to Nancy and do the same thing and have us have an email conversation. We can't do that. But you can send people information, and if you put no discussion, please, that's the way to do it. So you could send your information out to Andrew and to us with no discussion on it, and then we know what you're talking about. So that's kind of how you deal with
That's
that.
really
All right.
interesting.
Right, Lisa? Lisa's probably watching. See
Rox,
what
are
I
you
said,
able to
Lisa?
send the pictures that he sent?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, do we want to, would you like to put your recommendation in here?
So my recommendation is to remove the dying spruce tree
Take out-
and to remove the honeysuckles and to remove the crab tree that is, crab tree number 2, or sorry, crab apple tree number 2.
Crab number 2.
Yep,
Crab
I didn't know crabs grow on trees.
yeah.
Man, they're really ugly too. Man, they're really, oh my gosh.
Clingy, very clingy.
Did you all hear that there's a fire going on at Wayne?
No, but I'm
Forest
surprised
fire.
because they had a big alert yesterday.
In the Southern District,
It happened.
That's
in Lawrence County.
terrible.
Yeah, well,
Lawrence County.
in the Wayne though.
Wow.
But the rain is coming.
Yeah.
Good news.
Come on, right.
Okay, any other questions with that? So if you have comments, send them to Andrew.
Cool.
Next is, we don't have any titles 37 or maintenance, right? Okay. New business, reports, tree planting committee updates, please.
Dog park. Okay, so trees have been planted. A
It looks
good,
great. It looks really great.
yay. Okay,
Got rain tomorrow.
I need to say things, and the city already knows what I'm going to say. And it's a critique, but we're working through it. When we brought the trees in to the city, no one watered them for 2.5 weeks. And it was, and then when the trees were planted, we're not sure that Greenleaf watered them either because there wasn't water available through the children's garden. You don't have trees. You don't invest all the time that we have and not take care of it. And I'm not going to blame the city. I think what happened is that we never sat down and formulated a plan. Who was responsible for what? And Andrew is going to set up a meeting with Catherine Ann and Kevin and Andy Stone if needed. And they're just gonna figure out, when we do these large tree planting, who's responsible for what? Now, we had written a grant, and we'll talk about that soon. And I think to us, it was very obvious who was doing what. But the thing is that when you just say city, the city sort of looks at each other and goes, well, it's yours, no, it's mine, And we just need to
Well, who
sit
did the
down and
planting?
figure it out.
Greenleaf did the planting.
Greenleaf did the planting. So we
Don't
had.
there, like trucks, don't they have a water carrier truck?
They do, and they should have been watered, and I think that they might have been watered, but Kevin wasn't sure, and I was like, well, if you're running the contract with Greenleaf, you have to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do, and then we got into the conversation of he wasn't sure that that's what he was responsible for, and I absolutely agree with him,
But
so.
the city hasn't had anything to do with the trees at all.
No, the city has. So Kevin, who works for Catherine Ann, was the person who interfaced with Greenleaf for the dog park. So,
But I mean, he didn't have to worry about having somebody plant them or,
he
Decide what they're
had
gonna be.
to work with Greenleaf to set up the times where they would plant the trees and get the trees. So he was the city interface.
okay.
And that's not clear that that's the way that it should happen in the future.
Well, and we need to make sure any contracts that we have, it specifies that they get watered.
The
mean,
contract specified that
is
they
it?
got watered,
Oh my God,
yeah.
and they
Yeah.
didn't, okay,
We're not sure.
right.
They might have.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that I wasn't there And the person who was from the city didn't see the water immediately, so I was just like, so, growing pains of any new project, right?
Good learning. Yeah.
So we'll figure it out. Any other questions about the dog park?
So if these don't revive in the spring, are we just out of luck with that, or is there anybody held accountable for it?
The city will just replace them. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I think that they'll be okay, but all the trees were already dormant, so they're likely going to be okay. And they were, you know, burlapped, most of them. So it's not ideal. We'll see.
Oh, you mean before they got planted? They put the burlap off, didn't they?
No. They still had the burlap on them, so that's some protection. But you'll remember how warm it was. So it's not ideal. Let's just put it that way.
So do we need to set out some guidelines and checklists to make sure that we are doing our thing and identify key contacts for each project? Is that what?
No, I think it's the city needs to talk amongst themselves and decide how they're going
How they're
to
gonna do
divvy
it.
up their
Okay.
resources.
Okay.
Yeah, right now there's a big discussion about
Okay,
that.
cool.
And I think that part of the problem is, you know, we interface with Andrew Chicky, we interface with David Riggs, and we interface with Catherine Jordan, Ann Jordan. And so it's 3 different places that we're trying to plug into, plus EPW sometimes. And
Well,
not
what about-
everybody's able to talk to everybody all the time.
What about the riparian project? Is it all
So
set up?
we're gonna get to that next.
I
Yeah.
know, but I mean, is that already set up that somebody's going to follow
Yeah,
up?
that's a totally different setup for that project. So they purchased their own trees, they were responsible for digging the holes, and they're
Yes, that
responsible for the volunteers who are gonna plant them, and that'll be Saturday morning.
I'm talking about the follow-up with the watering.
They are responsible for that. They've contracted with Greenleaf. So they will have to interface with Greenleaf to make sure that that contract is followed. Yeah, the city doesn't have responsibility for that. So,
Are there questions? Further questions?
which brings us into the neighborhood right-of-way project. So we have homeowners who want trees.
Could I go back to,
Yeah.
the riparian
Yeah.
is a project of the Voinovich Center and the Conservancy?
The
Right.
Huckman.
Huckman, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we basically did consulting to tell them what kind of trees to plant. And 2 of us are going to be there on Saturday morning, right? You're planning on being there, so, yeah. Yay, 41 degrees and rain. If anybody wants to join us, please do. So the neighborhood right-of-way, we have 10 trees for neighborhoods in
Yeah, excellent.
but we're running into some problems. Like, one of the neighbors was like, I'm gonna remove the trees and I'm gonna have the stump ground, not a problem, it's gonna be done in July, and it still isn't done. So now we have to decide what we're gonna do with those trees. Do we hold them? Do we plant them somewhere else? We had another neighbor who backed out last minute, decided that they did not want the trees. I was able to find somebody else on Avon. Thank you very much, Betsy. So working with the neighbors is not smooth. And so we're going to have to think about that. When we talk about the ODNR grant, I'll talk a little bit more about some ideas about the neighborhood planting. But for right now,
Well, tell me about the removal of the stumps. I don't remember that ever having been brought up.
okay, well then.
How long ago did they talk to somebody about it?
I talked to them in June about it.
Oh,
They
you
were
talked
supposed
to
to
them.
contract immediately and it didn't happen. They
So it's
did
not-
remove
it's
the
not on
2
the
trees.
side then.
This one is on the south side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a problem where AEP had to remove some really beautiful old oaks. And they were crushed, and so we said that we would, give them some trees. They still can only have small to medium trees though because of the power lines. And they were gonna get some magnolias, but, yeah, I'm still waiting to hear from them. So,
So
you know,
that's
I had
that's
two- I
a
had-
different than the one we've been talking about on the east side, right? It's not part
Different
of that,
site, different
sending
site.
letters to the
Right.
neighborhoods.
we did that. So the majority of the neighbors are in the Near East and Far East side. But there are two, one on the west side where AEP removed a tree, and David Riggs asked us to replace that tree. And then the one on the south side. The rest of them are all on the Near East neighborhood. But,
Okay.
yep.
Questions with that? Okay, cool. Event and Education Committee. Oh, I'm still working with Scott with the videos. I think it will come together at some point. We'll let you know. And the Arbor Day celebration report and proclamation. It was fun. There was a small group of people there.
We
So
had,
it's.
we had golden shovels.
Yep, we did have golden shovels and a fancy proclamation. So I think that we'll be able to plan these more in advance in the future and maybe have the bigger celebration.
It was fun, but something really bothered me about it.
Okay,
So here, we're planting this tree, right? And we plant the tree, and I'm like, where's the water?
Well, that goes back to organization, figuring out who does what.
I mean, yeah. So I lugged 20 gallons of water from my house for it.
What did you lug it in? 20 gallons.
Swimming pool.
Big pails. And a husband.
Oh, we just need
But,
to.
yeah.
We have our uses. We can carry stuff.
so this issue of making sure people know which
Yeah.
roles they're playing
Yeah.
is something that we need to address.
It's like a checklist, something.
Yeah, exactly. Guidelines on the different types of planting, like right-of-way versus riparian, those sort of things, because they have different, like key people and those sort of things.
I think,
So-
though, that we probably need to have training as well.
Yes.
Anybody who's going to work with us on tree planting, I think, has to have some minimal training.
You know, the whole thing about training needs to include care for the trees in their full lifetime, including don't use weed eaters in the area.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
wonderful suggestion.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, what's the content of the sustainability videos?
That's what we're figuring out. This is the project that we're doing with the Sustainability Commission. And the idea is that we have videos that can go out, could have how to tree plant, how to plant trees, could have information on like maybe how to remove ivy, here are good trees that you can
Gotcha.
plant. So,
Yep.
so
Sorry.
that's that. So, yes, so I think that, I think maybe having Arbor Day, I don't know, it's not always going to be so warm, and November seems kind of late, so we might want to try to have it more in early October.
Well, the state, well, then that means the trees aren't ready to be planted. maybe.
Exactly.
I know the state official date is the actual Arbor Day date for the United States, which is April.
is that?
It's April, early in April.
That's April, right?
And
Yeah.
most of if you look at the list in Ohio of where everyone celebrates Arbor Day, it's in April.
Let's do April and do
April.
pruning.
Yeah.
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 Well, the thing with April is, I think one of the reasons they didn't do it a lot is because that is make Athens Beautiful Day sort of thing. But we could maybe.
Well, it was Arbor Day, and there was like at the farmers market, the Arbor Day. There was Arbor Day celebration.
uh-huh. Right.
I don't know if the 2 days were exactly the same. Really?
Sometimes I think they overlapped, and that's why
Oh.
it was moved later.
Goodness.
But there's no reason why we can't do something in April with tree celebration and stuff.
Well,
Is that a problem, though, if we have nobody watering the tree for the summer?
No, Greenleaf will be watering now. They're aware.
Okay, because that's an issue. You know, if
Yeah.
you plant it in April, you need to water all summer.
Right. Oh, I see what you're
Oh,
saying.
that's right.
Well, I think I was just trying to decouple, we don't have to have Arbor Day as a planting day. It could be like a
Yeah,
pruning day
yeah.
Or a celebration.
or a celebration or a mulching or whatever
I
day.
think Ann Bonner had said, when I asked her the question, she said it's because there's so much going on in town or in April, you know, I don't know, graduation, whatever, but it's a little bit before the actual Arbor Day. I can look it up, but it's before
Is
graduation.
it like 11th?
Let's see.
That sticks in my head, don't know why.
Maybe we can figure out the schedule for next year and then figure out where we want to put it in. I was pleased to have everybody out at the door, you know, the dog park, so that way everybody could see the new trees.
Oh, yeah.
That was
It was
kind of
very
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
When is Arbor
Well,
Day?
and,
of the
yeah,
year?
we
The
need to
last
look-
Friday in April
Last
is when
Friday in
the
April.
official. Now,
That's
some.
graduation. Isn't that graduation?
no, it's the beginning, it's May 5th this year, it's late.
Okay. So,
I don't
yeah,
know.
because so many things. Last year, I don't think did they do an Athens Beautification Day?
No,
No. So, I don't know if it's something that's going to go forward.
I think they're trying to.
Trying. I mean, we could try to get them to change it to Athens, make trees beautiful and happy day. So, yeah.
For this, to get the designation
And bring your own
of Tree
water.
City, you have to say it's Arbor Day, you have to read the proclamation. It has to be read exactly as they say.
Well, you can start it, so.
The state of Indiana.
Every day is tree day.
Every day is tree day.
Yeah.
So I'll say here, we discussed whether to move Arbor Day to
Yeah.
a more,
And then we decided we'll be flexible based on the schedule.
True.
A little bit of
stay
winging it.
tuned for
Yeah,
2023.
yeah, that one will win.
We're
Okay,
resilient.
we'll
Yeah, that's
revisit
right.
this in this
Yep.
winter.
Okay, the fall bus stop tree planting, that was done by the Arbor Day Committee. This project for Mary has been a super long endeavor to get it going, and so there's actual trees in the ground now.
There are 6, and there are going to be 4 more.
Yeah.
I have to talk to Kevin and make sure that those remaining 4 get planted. What happened was, we asked for 1 to 1.5 inch diameter trees and got 2.5 for some of them.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, no, the volunteers aren't doing those.
Unless it's a
Are those the
tele.
ones that are going to go out East State Street by the,
Yeah,
yeah.
Those are big.
yeah, they're big.
2.5 inch.
Yeah,
Jeez.
they're
Well, that's
big.
That's
great.
exciting, yeah, I agree.
It'll
There
be
were-
shade in no time.
So I think
Okay.
11 volunteers showed up in addition to Ann and Roxanne.
Do we know
Mary.
exactly where they are? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I'll tell you
Yes.
exactly where tell them exactly where they are.
But the ones that I helped with were across from the Dairy Queen and then across from the Johnny Appleseed Park.
Oh,
fun.
I'll have
And
that.
they now have little fences around them. the big
Yeah,
fences.
so to keep the deer off, hopefully. Even though it's not great for mowing, it's still, I think they can get hit, but it's not
A friend
bad.
of mine and I had oak trees planted in our yard recently, and the deer came in her yard, not in mine yet, and took their antler and pulled
That's right.
the stuff down
Yeah.
and scratched off all the
Yeah.
side of the.
Yeah, they joust, yeah,
They're terrible.
yeah.
But it was a good day. It was well organized, 11 volunteers. Andrew had the little safety vest for us, and Attila was there with his truck and all the shovels and the water and the mulch, and it was just spit spot. Ann
It
gave
was
a
fun.
lesson, a teaching.
Yep.
You know, she would be how to plant the trees. and
Ann was really good.
She was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
She was really
We
good.
should, yeah, next time that happens, we should video her.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, when we were doing planting for Make Athens Beautiful, with Attila and Mary for a couple years, and they're so organized and so well thought out, and so it's really a joy to work
Yeah.
with them.
That's really good.
So, and, I think this is really good, this kind of partnership with citizens and stuff, so
That's good too.
say thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Okay, intern work. There's been some discussion about interns and work-study students and things like that. Now, Andrew has an intern, is that true?
He's in the mayor's office. He's
Okay.
attached to the mayor's office. He was the fellow that was at
Oh, the tall dude.
Yeah.
Drew.
Drew,
Drew.
okay.
He's at every single council meeting, and he's always in a three-piece suit. That man is sharp.
Cool.
Sharp dressed.
So there's some opportunity to partake of some of that intern's work, right? Is that what Andrew was
He
saying?
had offered, when we were gonna, when the homeowners right away was gonna take place, that could possibly be something that person could be working on. So it would have to fit, it sounds like, with the interest and the other things he's supposed to be doing.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I imagine Andrew would be the contact point
Contact
on
person.
that.
Okay, well, we're always interested, you know.
Yeah.
We'll take, what I would like to do, I would like to get a work-study student through the Community Connections to work on a special project with whatever the student wants to do.
We have a student here, I believe. Natalie Cruz's student is
Oh,
here.
that's a different thing, that's not a work-study.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there.
A different one.
Yeah, I did this when I was on city council. It's a great program because the people over at OU do all the paperwork and you just sign the sheet for work, for how many hours. We did, my student, I had one for 2 years. He was awesome. He did a lot of planning for tree planting. He started a program with the sororities and the fraternities we had a program that was going to be called Monumental Trees for the Monumental Greeks. And he was working with all the sorority people and the Greek life. And then COVID happened.
Oh, sorry.
So that, yes,
Boom, boom.
there are 3 trees that came out of that was planted at the fraternity that's on East State Street.
Okay.
So there's something, I want to work with the student if they have to have a capstone or something, so we'll develop a proposal and bring it.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
yeah, and it'll probably be a planning student, so.
Yeah, I had students when I worked, they always were extremely good experiences.
Oh,
I never
yeah.
had a problem with the students.
And I love working with them,
Yeah,
so,
they're just so enthusiastic and
yeah,
it's fun.
so, cool. So if there's any questions or concerns, let me know. Okie dokie. Let's talk about you. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is
You have to stand up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's official.
So it's official, absolutely. Hi everyone, my name is Grant Perry. I am a first year master's student in the environmental studies program at the Voinovich School. I actually did my undergrad in geography and political science, and I'm interested in potential practicum with Shade Tree Commission. I have some experience with GIS, some qualitative and quantitative research skills, and I'd really be happy to do whatever you're interested in, for sure.
Is this an actual, is this your master's project that you're
Yeah.
talking about? Okay.
Yes.
I did work with Tiffany Cross. She did she worked with the Athens Conservancy, and I was on the committee as the consultant, the consulting person. It was an awesome program. We loved her. She went off and got a really, really, really good job.
Yeah, she's working in Cincinnati now, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and that, it was a really good experience for the Conservancy, because now we have this model that we can use. So it's a great program. So I'm more than happy if we can figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that's just me, so.
Yeah.
Questions?
I think we all would be.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Have
There's
you
one
got
thing
any
I know about
ideas?
this committee, we don't turn
What's
down
that?
good help.
Have you any ideas of your?
Not really yet, no. I'm really open to kind of co-creating a project, just kind of what does Shade Tree need, where could I best suit you? So I'd like to do that kind of collaboratively. I don't have too many ideas at the moment.
Okay. What's the timeline that you're looking at?
So I would want to have a project proposal to where I could defend it with the committee and with one of you by probably mid next semester in the spring. Earlier the better, obviously. Then typically for the practicum, that work happens next year, but I'd be willing to start earlier as well. But trying to figure out a project and get the ball rolling this semester to where we can finalize it probably by about end of February, mid-March.
I have an idea. Yeah, more. We've been talking about a tree survey for a while, and we've argued, back and forth. Are we more concerned about tree canopy, or are we concerned about tree survey, or both.
Both.
And they give you different things. I don't know how much time you have, if you would have time to do a true tree survey, or if it is better to stick to tree canopy. But I think that both of those could use some attention. If we're specifically talking about tree surveys, I think in addition to numbers, we'd be interested in species and approximate ages.
Okay.
Because, and also comparing it to the tree climate information to
That-
determine what are our vulnerabilities with the trees that we have.
Right.
So I think that that would be really interesting, and I can understand if you couldn't do the entire city, but, you know, maybe you could do like the far and the Near East Side, which is
Okay.
where we are prioritizing our tree plantings right now because of canopy loss. So that's just an idea.
Another thing we might think about, and what you were saying before, what we talked about before, and that is, what is the attitude of the people who are looking forward to planting their
So
yards?
we didn't talk about it, Nancy, but those students from the Voinovich School are going to implement that survey
Oh, they
this
are.
semester. They are going to, yeah, and the individuals who asked to see, you were one of them, and also Catherine gave some feedback, so they are going to interview at least 10 people right now, just to test the survey to see how it goes, and then we can decide whether or not to do more. But one of the things, you know, it doesn't all have to come down to you. Athens is really well known for its bio-blitzes, and so maybe organizing a bio-blitz based on trees
Okay.
could be really cool.
Yeah. One of the things that we've been talking, the event people have been talking with the Sustainability Commission is to do a spring bio blitz. So that might be something of training and those sort of things with the bio blitz. Do you want to have a specific question that you're answering and looking at, or a specific problem? Because like with Tiffany, she had her, because we were we were a organization that she was like consultant with. We came up with a actual plan. We had things in our hand. And I think that we need to figure out what deliverables that you can give so that we're all up front and clear, and that your other committee members and stuff are also. Usually what happens with the Voinovich, with the EMS, whatever it is.
MSES.
Yes, which is in the plant biology department.
No,
And so the timing, we need to have one person be on this, be your contact that's, will sign off on the project. So those are some of just kind of the paperwork sort of things we have to do.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Would there be a point person here?
Yes, there has to be a point person.
and I think depending on the project, it could be
Yep.
Jim, for example. It might be in your bailiwick. It could, if it's related to more tree planting, then I guess it could be me, but, and don't take that the wrong way. I'm gonna be reluctant to do it in the spring just because then I'd pick up Athens in bloom, plus we have the
Oh, yeah.
pollinator program, so I'm gonna get slammed this spring.
Yeah,
Sarah
absolutely.
Davis was your advisor there?
DeBelco is.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jeff!
Yeah, I work with
Okay,
DeBelco.
so is he, because when I think of Jeff, I tend to think of him as more the social science, resiliency kind of, is that more of your interest, policy?
So I came into urban forestry kind of looking at that policy aspect of it and how you can really see urban vulnerability by the tree canopy and the percentage of tree canopy, and that's really what brought me into it. So my training is in social science. I do have some natural science as well. And I find like that intersection really fascinating, especially like with urban forestry and having that, like this as our environment that we're working in. I think that it's just super fascinating. So I do, that's why I work with Dr. DeBelco.
Yeah, I was, one of the things that we've talked about too is tree canopy and equity. And so that could be another project. And it would still involve tree canopy
Yeah.
and surveys. honestly, another project that I could think of would be tree maintenance and pruning, because that's definitely an equity issue as well. You know, it's fine and dandy to plant the trees and then not take care of them, and in certain neighborhoods, is that too much of a burden to expect the neighbors to take care of it? Where should the city be prioritizing its limited resources to ensure maintenance of trees, not just planting the tree
Yeah. And
for
that's
equity?
that's like interesting, especially since we have so many rental properties in the city. That's
So
even
that,
more
that
of
could
a
be
pressing issue.
another, I think
Yeah.
equity is
Mhm.
something that you might want to
Yeah,
consider.
absolutely. And I'm good combining and mixing, social science with natural science. And if we're looking at like doing a survey and using GIS and some surveying like that, I'm comfortable doing that, and then also doing qualitative interviews. So I think that that'd be really interesting to try to combine some of those.
Okay.
Maybe you can brainstorm from some of the things we've said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I work really well with email, so if you
Okay.
have questions or anything. I would also talk to Dr. Matlack in the plant biology department. He has a graduate student right now looking at Athens urban forestry.
Okay.
So there might be some questions there that you might be able to coax out, so.
Okay,
And
absolutely.
you can look, he does have a couple of presentations on trees and forest, Athens city forests and stuff, so.
Okay, absolutely.
Jim, do you want to step in and be one of the advisors too with your GIS background?
I guess it really depends on what you end up doing. I mean, the fact how much do you think would DeBelco steer where you're going, or how much is it just your interest?
Yeah,
I mean, you kind of threw a curve when you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more driven by like my interests. So like and as some of you are probably familiar with the MSES program, he's my academic advisor, but he doesn't need to be my practicum or thesis advisor. So I can really steer it in whatever direction I would like.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Yeah, I mean,
and
certainly if it goes in that direction.
just so you know too, the Voinovich School was the entity that got the funding to do the riparian project, and recently Andrew and I spoke to them, and we are now going in on an EPA grant with them to try and get additional funds for more trees in the riparian area. And so that's closer to the Voinovich's schools, sort of bailiwick too. So, I mean, theoretically, you could go that way as well, even though I sort of like the neighborhood plantings and the
Yeah.
equity better from our perspective, but
Yeah.
I think that we're going to be buddying up with the Voinovich School more, because they're going to be a source for us to get grant
It
funding.
sounds great, yeah.
So next step for him and us, what would be the next step?
So my suggestion is that you go and you talk to Jeff, and you say, wow, they threw spaghetti up against the wall, now we gotta figure it out. And then you come back to Shade Tree, maybe at our next meeting,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
pitch some ideas.
Okay.
Feel free to bring Jeff with, and then maybe.
I would appreciate, like, before you come the next meeting, that, pass some of the ideas,
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
some of us, so that we can just, one thing that students do is pick too big. You only have a very small amount of time, so you want to make it focused and doable. And, and that way, we'll get a deliverable, and then you'll be able to go and join Tiffany in
And
it.
hint
Awesome
to-
job.
Student Enhancement Award, $6,000, application due the end of January.
True. That's very true. Yeah, absolutely. No, that sounds great, and I can email some of those
Yeah.
ideas as well, and then come back and.
Our
December.
next,
Yes.
our next meeting is Thursday, December 8th.
That's perfect. That works.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Great. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. Have a great night. Thank
What are
you.
you kidding? We appreciate it. Thanks for spending the evening with us.
Of course. Thank you. Good seeing you.
See you in a month.
Oh, wait a minute. Come here. sir.
Wait, oops,
Wait.
we need to get your
Your
name and
name.
address.
Yes.
Mhm, just for the record.
Yeah.
If I could just come here and tell it to me. Is it Grant Perry? No.
Yep, Grant Perry.
Oh, I had it right, P-E-R-R-Y? All right, and your program is?
All right.
I'm in the MSDS program at the Voinovich
Well,
with
say that-
Masters of
say it in
Science.
words.
Masters of Science in Environmental Studies.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Oh, do you need my address too, or no?
Sure. Would it be email, perhaps?
Yeah. GP 0649.
We're going ahead now.
I'm waiting for her to finish. I'm waiting for her to finish getting his address.
She's waiting so that way she can take minutes of when we talk again.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you all.
thank you. Well,
Thanks.
she has to talk about the
Have a great night.
old business.
Oh, wait a minute, I erased it, wait a minute.
Are you serious?
Nope, I got it back. Okay.
Control Z, Control Z.
I have some old business, that's why I wanted to
Yeah,
get going.
so, old business. Do we want to talk about grant application?
I'll start.
Okay.
Well, there were 60 applications put in, 30 were funded. We were not one of them. And our understanding, as much as we've gotten from Ann Bonner, is that we were tossed out, I think, on a technicality. It was determined, it wasn't anywhere in the information, but determined that stump removal did not count as site preparation. So therefore, it was ineligible for funding. So rather than saying, okay, you can fund this part, but not this part, it's like, no funding.
Yeah, it's
So-
even worse than that.
Oh, you've gotten more scoop.
We were rated as one of the top proposals. And then they threw us out. Which, on a technicality, and, I know, no, it's not all
Let's go
right.
plant some Yeah.
We're on TV, so I'll just stop
Yeah.
at that, but,
It was very disappointing. Yeah.
Technicalities and the snafus that they tend to lead to can be quite frustrating, and I think this is
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, we have to have a constructive relationship moving forward. The technicality for which they threw it out was not legal. I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
In my opinion. I have to ground it in that, but in other experts' opinions as well. So.
I think all was not lost. We gained working relationships, we gained a lot of information collected.
Is there a
on-
possibility that we can resubmit?
Next year,
next
yes, and Anne is gonna be working with us, so, which is wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
So, well, I want to say thank you, especially,
All of us,
and
yes.
you did a huge amount.
Well,
Everybody.
so did Rox. We were,
You were killing it.
It was a lot of work.
And Ben?
all the
Ben?
extra work that everybody did, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, but something good came out of it. So I'll give the update.
Okay.
We have requested that the budget for Shade Tree Commission be increased, and it is being put forward. And so the city is going to be putting additional funds forward for us that will allow us to do some stump removal, as well as some additional planting. We also have a tentative commitment from the Voinovich School for between $3,000 and $5,000, which will add, plus we are pursuing other options, including maybe a GoFundMe campaign, where the city is trying to determine if they can have a GoFundMe campaign, and it would be, hey, plant a tree in Athens, $154. And it would be aimed towards Athens City citizens as well as various community groups. So we're thinking that we might get very close to the budget that we would have asked for in the grant. So all is not lost.
Good.
Why aren't we asking $400?
Because, that's just the price. What we want to say is, it costs the city $154 to plant a tree. We're not saying you get a tree named. It's not a
sign
celebratory tree.
and a whole
It's
thing.
just, yeah,
Because
no,
people
it's
will
not
ask
that.
that.
Yeah,
Do we want to consider sort of recommending that going forward, we undertake stump removal? When
We
when cut
already
down
have, it
trees?
was in the grant, and
Okay.
Andrew says that it is now part of the
Part of the,
city's.
part of policy.
Yeah, they're trying to do it. Stump removal is
It's a terrible
just
job.
so expensive.
It's more than, way
So
more than, almost double
incredibly
planting a tree.
Fancy
You need
piece of
pigs.
equipment.
Pigs.
Pigs.
Or pileated woodpeckers.
No, in some places, they take pigs and they stuff acorns under stumps. And the pigs root them out. The pigs are on leashes, well,
I'm totally good with that. That would be
And-
funny. Can we have a flock or whatever they're called of pigs and just move them around?
yeah, I mean, that's.
I don't want them at my house, but I mean, I think it'd be
You know,
totally
people
cool.
laughed at me when I talked 25 years ago about goats and removing invasives.
Oh,
And,
they're
you know,
great.
And people laughed at me.
No.
Thank you very much.
No.
But in a lot of
very
places,
good.
they have pigs that go, and they go crazy, and it helps to remove a lot of the soil around it and stuff.
That's incredible.
So, I don't know if somebody could do it in like one of the murder strips, but I don't know. I don't even know if there's any pigs around here that can do that. There is, you know.
I'm just wondering how we got.
Do they
For
require
those of you
special
listening
training?
at home, I hope
No,
you're finding
that's
us
what they do.
entertaining tonight.
Rounding up.
Never know what we're gonna get into.
Really, we're
And for
doing
little
pigs.
stumps, we can use little pigs and.
Free maybe.
Free.
Sorry.
Get enough acorns, we can roast them.
Okay,
So,
we need to wrap this up.
Tree City Growth Award applications, Andrew and I are buttoning that up, we're keeping it very simple. It'll go in, and then you send it in, and then they say, okay, you're eligible to apply for the Growth Award, so then we'll have that ready. and just get that in.
Great, thank you.
Good job.
So,
All right.
other old business?
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that, that I have had quite a few conversations with Nancy Christ, who has still interested in planting 23 trees, although she did do one celebratory tree already.
Okay,
She got in on the $100 one
before it went up, yeah, that would be,
November 1st.
yeah.
Anyway, she and Catherine Ann are planning to have a talk and try
Okay.
to come up with some plans about where would be the best. Now, it's possible, I'm hoping, I'm thinking that maybe a few of the trees that have been damaged by the mower or whatever at the community center might
Oh,
be
Yeah.
to put them back at the dog park, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Well,
are a
there's
few
some in
trees
front-
that need to be replaced.
There's some in front of the pool.
Yeah,
They're really
Yes,
sad.
there are.
Yes, they're
Yeah.
really sad.
yeah.
So,
That was another
So I
problem.
thought that might be a good thing, but anyway, it took most of my time to track Catherine Ann down. She's a very busy woman.
Yeah.
And so finally, when we talked, she was very gracious and willing to help in any way, so that was good.
Perfect.
So that's where it stands now, but hopefully we'll get some of those 23 trees.
great. Any other questions about that? Okay. Opportunity for citizens to speak on covered items not covered on the agenda?
Do you have any, so, I do have a question for you, Tristan. If we were to say, you know, hey, 240 Columbus Road, the thing that we were talking about, that it has what we think is a congestion problem and that trees need to be pruned, are you comfortable going out, one, and looking at it, and two, maybe going out with city workers or us to actually do some of the light pruning? What do you feel comfortable doing?
Yeah, short of, like climbing, pruning.
Yeah, no climbing.
I don't think
Yeah.
we have insurance for that.
So for example, the two crab apples that are on this, one of them, I don't know if it's salvageable, the other one needs some pruning too. I was just wondering if maybe I could call on you.
Definitely.
Okay. Do you ever have a chance to go and look at 240 Columbus Road?
Maybe if you guys want to email me that map, if you could, yeah, I can definitely just go.
You want to take a copy?
Yeah.
here.
Take a copy as well.
Well, I tell you what, I can just send to you what I sent to everybody. Hold on. Okay, so Tristan.
Does he need,
Kinnison?
Yes.
is there a release form he should fill out?
Nope. If he's not doing any work that's considered dangerous, nope.
Okay. So, well,
Cool.
anything else? Thank you. Okay, so our next meeting is December 8th? Is that it? Okay,
Everybody's got stuff to
so,
do.
Now,
do I have last minute sayings?
sometimes we do skip a meeting. Is it the
December?
December one that we sometimes skip, or is
We
it the
skipped
Jan-
July.
We did skip July.
July, okay. I'm happy to have more meetings, but
Okay.
I didn't know if at some point
I was thinking too, but,
we're not gonna have a lot on the agenda. I don't know. Maybe we wait and see.
Yeah, and if there's not much, we can hold it over, if it can be held over until January.
Of course, Grant will show up and nobody will be here.
Right, someone needs to tell Grant. So December 8th, we're meeting.
Oh, that's
Can I have
right,
a
so we
vote?
did say that one.
But
Yes.
well, no, you just tell
We
him.
have a, can I have a vote for adjournment?
Yes.
And I have a second?